In the state of California, if you get fired from your job, you have rights. And as a Californian, it's really important to know your rights because there are too many times where workers get taken advantage of because the employer starts holding things over the employee's head. For example, their final paycheck. So in this video, we're talking about your rights that you have when you get fired and what your employer is obligated to provide you on your last day. All right, so here we go. If you get terminated from your job, meaning if your employer fires you, regardless if they fire you in a snap of an instant or if they plan to fire you, your employer is required to provide you your final paycheck on your last day of work. So if you get fired out of nowhere, your employer better hand you your final paycheck on that day that they fire you too. If they don't, then your employer might be entitled to waiting time penalties. Now, let's talk about what it needs to be included in your final paycheck. In your final paycheck, what needs to be there is wages for every single hour that you worked, and then wages for all of the accrued but unused vacation time that you've earned in your job. Now, in the state of California, vacation time is considered wages, and wages, as we know, are worth their weight in gold. So in your final paycheck, I would look for it and I would ask your employer, all right, does this include all my final wages? Yes. Okay. I had vacation time. Does this include all of my accrued but unused vacation time? Yes. Okay. Now, one question I get asked a lot is, do you need to be paid out for your sick leave? Because we know in the state of California, your employer is required to provide you sick leave. Now, the answer is it depends. Now, if your employer has a certain policy that says we will pay you out your sick leave, then yes, your employer needs to pay you out your sick leave. However, in the state of California, we don't have any laws that require employers to pay you your sick leave. Just kind of like, and this is a surprising fact, in the state of California, we don't have any laws that require you to have any days off for any holidays. So that's another thing to look about. Now, when you get fired, there's a different set of rules than if you quit. Now, if you quit your job, your employer is required to provide you your final paycheck within 72 hours. And that final paycheck also should include any accrued but unused vacation time that you had earned at your employment. Now, if you quit your job, same rules. It all depends whether you get paid out your sick leave or not, depending on the corporate policy, because in the state of California, there's no right to getting paid out your sick leave. But one thing that I would really look for is a lot of times the clients I have say, hey, my employer fired me, and then they said I would get paid my final paycheck in the next pay period. Now, in the state of California, that's unlawful. I mean, as an employee and an employer, you can always agree to get paid at a later date. But as an employee, you have rights. And your right is if you get terminated, you need to get paid on that last day. And if you quit your job, you need to get paid within 72 hours. Now, what happens if your employer doesn't pay you on time? That's the next question. Now, we have something called Labor Code Section 203, and it's commonly referred to as waiting time penalties. So if your employer willfully restricts you from receiving all of your paycheck on your last day or within that 72 hours, and you could prove that they're willfully withholding it, meaning that they know how many hours you worked, they know how much money you've earned, yet they're still not paying you for that money, for that time that you worked, then your employer may be required to pay you waiting time penalties or Labor Code Section 203 penalties. Now, what waiting time penalties are is a penalty for the employers for the late payment of wages. Now, how that gets calculated is, as an employee, if your wages are late and your employer willfully withheld your wages, your employer is required to provide you a penalty that is the equivalent of one daily rate of your wages, so however much money you would earn in a day, and you multiply that by how many days your employer is late paying you your wages. Now, there's a maximum amount of waiting time penalties that you can get, and it's 30 days. So, for example, say you get fired on a Monday and your employer pays you on a Friday. So that your check should have been in there on that Monday, but they waited Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So in that situation, if your employer did not pay you on Monday when they should have, you are entitled to 4 extra days of wages as a penalty in that last paycheck. Now, a lot of times employers won't pay you that waiting time penalty, and you actually have to assert your rights in order to get it. So that's when you should check out the Division of Labor Standards Enforcement. The DLSE is an administrative agency in the state of California that adjudicates any of the wage and hour claims within the state of California. So think about it as a administrative agency, kind of like the EDD, but instead of handling unemployment and disability insurance, the DLSE handles all the wage and hour claims, all the complaints you have against your employer for non-payment of wages, business expenses, or even meal breaks and rest periods too. So check out the DLSC's website. I have a video in here that explains how to file a wage claim. And of course, if you're in a situation, you're in a pickle, the one piece of legal advice I'm giving you in this video is talk to an attorney. If you're in an employment situation that you think is a little suspicious or a little fishy, I highly recommend you to talk to an attorney that you trust and, get an analysis on your situation, because California has a lot of rules that protect workers, and, a lot of the times workers don't know all the rules, but a good employment lawyer will. So that's it. Hopefully I explained your rights when you get terminated, about at least your final paycheck, and also when you quit. So if you like this video, please tune in, please like and subscribe and comment, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks.